So today's, I'm talking to Cathy and Sam, and we're going to talk about sex. So before I started this podcast, I sent an email to all my friends a long time ago, like probably almost a year ago, about starting this podcast. And I asked people what they thought we should talk about. And this one mom emailed me back. Oh, thank you. I'm sorry, I forgot. That one, yep. I think you keep pushing it. Sorry, we have to turn the heater off. Thank you. Sorry. So this one mom emailed me back and she was like, will you please talk about sex? And I don't mean like sex. I mean like, when do you have it? I'm exhausted. I don't want to have it. I love my husband. I think my husband's sexy. I want him like at 4:00 when I'm in the middle of homework. And then at 9:30 when I could actually have sex, I'm like, forget it. And so I was like, yeah, I think we could probably muster a couple of conversations like that. And then just to talk about sex kind of in general. I thought that would be a cool episode, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
So
We all have it sometimes.
I had it last night.
You did?
Oh, yeah. Of course.
course.
My husband ran the marathon last night.
He was like a machine. Yes.
Yeah, he ran the marathon. Do you think he doesn't get anything for that?
Right.
He's got to get something for that.
Big deal. Yeah.
Well, I know for us, I feel like in a lot of ways we're kind of lucky because he's only home this short window. So then it's like it's now or never. You got to do it Monday or Tuesday. That's it. Because he's gone Wednesday. He comes back Sunday. Maybe we could do Sunday night, but usually he's exhausted. So it's kind of a blessing because then it's kind of on my mental to-do list. So I go, today it's got to happen, right? I'm going to go to Costco. I'm going to go to Trader Joe's. I'll put gas in the car. I'm going to have sex with Bert. Then I'm going to clean out my closet. Perfect. Let's do it. That's kind of what I have to do. But I think when he's here for long periods of time, like 2-3 weeks, when he's like recently now, it doesn't happen. We'll go like 10 days. And because it's just tomorrow, I'm too tired. So to this mom's point, by 9:30 you're like, forget it. But if you go like, I only have these 2 days, I have to 9:30, too bad. I'm going to be up till 10:30 tonight or whatever your bedtime is,
Right.
because I got to get this done because it is part of being married, right?
Yes. It's a task.
I mean, it can be a task. Yeah,
It totally feels like that. It's funny because I just keep thinking one of my longest friends, she would say, no, Sammy, we do it every other day. Like it is in the calendar. It's every other day. And I'm like,
every other day.
I can't imagine.
Well, I just thought, what the fuck is wrong with you planning to have sex every other day? First of all, like
Right.
who plans to have sex every other day? And now as I get older and more time goes by, I'm like, it totally makes sense. And actually, the more I learn about sex and hearing, sexologists speak, that is the biggest thing that they say is that you have to plan it. You have to say, if I don't want to go to bed past 11, our window for sex is 10 o'clock. We have to start at 10 o'clock. And
Right.
then I'm going to be in bed by my bedtime, which is 11 o'clock. And you have to plan it. And I just think that's so sad.
Yeah,
But it's the only way to do it.
it's kind of boring. Yeah,
It's so boring. Like, what happened to the, let's be spontaneous and do sex against the wall? Like, that just doesn't happen because we have sex. I mean, we have kids and we don't have sex.
right. But I was thinking about that exact thing the other day, like my own agenda with sex, right? Before kids and before marriage, because they were both different, right? They were, although I was pregnant when I got married, so I guess that was only a
tiny window.
small window of
A few months.
sex when, shotgun wedding. But excuse me, my agenda and my security with my sexuality was very different before I got married, and then it shifted again after I had children. Did you guys experience that at all? Do you have any feeling? You've been married. Cathy's been married for 150 years.
It's true.
Forever.
So, and had sex with the same person for 150 years.
That's a lot.
Remembering way back when it was someone different is tricky.
Challenging.
Because, there were so many before him anyway to begin with.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's definitely changed. And part of that is marriage. Part of that is kids. Part of that is age. Like,
Yeah.
I just think things are different now.
Yeah.
Like, we're different people than when we started, when we were 18.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
18. You were 18 when
I
you
started dating him when
Steven?
I was 19.
Oh my
Wow.
God.
Isn't that crazy?
The guy I was dating when I was 19 went to jail for selling drugs. He's now out of jail. And I keep up with him on Facebook and I'm like, oh, you found your way. You have a really good life. But wow, 19?
Yeah,
I'm glad I
crazy,
didn't marry
right?
my 19-year-old boyfriend.
Yeah.
I didn't marry him for a long time, but
Yeah, but you were
still,
together. Yeah.
it's been a long time.
That's a long time. I mean, Bert and I have been together for almost 16 years, and I feel like that's a long time. You know, there's and I remember a time when we were first. I guess maybe we'd had Georgia, where I started mourning the loss of the first kiss that would never happen again, and the first experiences with a person that was new never happening again. I actually got really sad about that. Not to take away from my relationship, but you know, there's an adrenaline and there's an excitement that comes with, oh my God, he's picking me up. I hope I look good. I hope I'm going to get a kiss. And you're like, you're never going to do that with Bird again. I've kind of already seen the rodeo. It's the same rodeo every time. No new rodeo riders coming today. So I remember actually having to like grieve because I thought this is really sad that this part, and I think something shifted at about the same time with me anyway, where sex was concerned, where sex became something different, whereas before it was like a chase or a pursuit or a I'm gonna see what I can show this guy or I'm gonna get crazy. And then when that happened, I went, oh well, I guess we're just gonna have sex whenever we want, whatever we want. Guess it's just gonna be okay. You know, this is fine. This is who it's with. And not that anything's wrong with Bert. He's great. He's a great, very great lover. I'm sure he would be happy for me to say that on this podcast. But I'm not dissatisfied in any way. That's not it. It was just that realization that you're never going to have anyone pursue you in that way ever again. It was very kind of
Interesting.
sad. Did either of you ever have that?
I mean, that's depressing.
I don't remember
as
going through
you
that
say
at all,
that.
actually.
No?
That's interesting. Yeah.
Maybe you didn't fuck enough people before.
Apparently not.
I might have. I don't know.
I certainly don't consciously remember going through that
No.
phase. No, not at all.
Do you remember going through that phase?
I mean, I don't know. I
you
think
were a child too when you
I
got
was
married.
a child too. I mean, Bill and I have been together for, oh God, it'll be 20 years
What?
this year that I met him, and I was a fucking baby.
You're so
Yeah,
young,
you're still a
Sam.
baby. I
Yeah.
know.
You're way younger than I am.
Yeah. So that's
don't have to
my
say yeah to that.
No. I'm a baby.
You are
And
a baby, yeah.
So I think that it was really exciting then, and actually as I got older, I feel like fuck. One person for my entire life.
Yeah.
I mean, at 19 when I met him, I mean, I thought like I want to have kids and I want to be married and this is the life that I want. And there wasn't really anything else. Like that's just what was the natural progression for me.
Right.
And as I've gotten older, it's changed. Like really, you know, what is that? Is that what I want? I mean, of course it is, but
Right.
it's just, I mean, you know, most of the time it is, but I just, I think about that and I think, how really do people do this for like 60 years?
Right.
With one fucking person? Because you're not supposed to be with one person. Like, it's just not the natural course that you and I are going to be together for the rest of our lives. Like, that's
You mean
not
like biologically?
human. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just not what what we're supposed to do as humans, but it's what we do as humans.
Right.
so I think I mourned I continue to mourn the loss of that.
Oh, I see.
Like,
I wonder because I didn't meet Bert till 31. So clearly I had
Right.
years
Yeah.
of dating. And I mean, I by no means, I don't think I was a loose woman. But at the same time, I definitely had a lot of boyfriends because, I mean, from age 15, my first boyfriend ever, till 31 is quite a long span.
Yeah.
So, and I lived in New York, and I lived in Atlanta, and I lived in LA, and, I had boyfriends in all those places, but maybe not New York, just a little bit. But, so I wonder about that, from women like you who met your spouse at such a young age and didn't have those years of kind of like sowing the wild oats. If you have any feelings of, oh shit, I missed out, because I don't feel like, oh yeah, I want more of that. I just had the realization that was over. Does that make sense? That's done.
Yeah.
Not that I wanted more, but that chase and that feeling and that adrenaline would never be back. And that you kind of it's a natural progression, and from this kind of crazy learning about yourself, growing up time into settling I think there's a lot of gain and a little bit of loss that goes with that.
Yeah.
Same with having children. There's a lot of gain and there's some loss because, you lose your time, you lose your freedom, you lose a lot of stuff like that just goes with it, But I wonder about that for people who've been married or with their spouses for a long time. If you have any, not regrets, but any thoughts about.
Well, I do wonder, knowing the woman that I continue to evolve into, what that would be like knowing how much more sure of what I want and my desires and what I truly need, what that would be like if I were single and going to try and find a partner, because I didn't know. I was 19.
Right.
What the hell do I know at 19? I mean,
Nothing.
I thought I knew everything, and
You didn't.
didn't.
No.
I knew, nothing.
No.
Really. But so I do wonder, what would that be like for me to be this person that I am now and searching for my mate? Would I pick the same person?
Right.
Would I be in the same place that I am now? Would I have more sex than I am now? It's a question.
You have 4 kids. I doubt it.
I doubt it, but I wonder if I would have had 4 kids.
Right. Well, that's true. You may not have had 4 kids.
I may not have had 4 kids.
Well, I can tell you this, having been to many rodeos. They ain't all good.
No.
They a lot of them don't understand or have any really interest in figuring out how to pleasure a woman. I think women are really mysterious to men, and I don't think men know where to look to find answers about how to understand them completely.
Right.
Sexually anyway.
Right.
Maybe even emotionally too, but I know when Bert and I were first together, we may get, I hope I don't make you uncomfortable. I don't mean to make you uncomfortable, but I'm going to talk about some more graphic stuff, right? When Bert and I first got together, he started watching, well, he's always watched porn, but he watched porn from a different perspective. And he was like, I want to be able to give Leanne an orgasm orally, and I don't know how to do that. So let me go online and figure out how to do that. So he did. He went online and he figured out, and he said to me, I want to work on this. Like, I really want this to happen for us. And it means a lot to me. So let's help each other figure this out. No man in my life had ever done anything even similar to that ever. I thought it was really brave of him to be that open, and it was really so loving and sweet that he wanted that to be part of our experience. And it was really one of those moments where I went, wow, I have really hit a home run with this guy. He may be quick in bed, but he's really conscientious about everybody being happy. So that's good.
Yes.
But so he did that. But I thought, I don't know that a lot of men would be that brave. To go, I'm going to figure this out, and I'm going to tell her I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try to figure this out, and will you help me?
Yeah.
So I think for men listening, there's nothing, I don't know many women who would be like, what an asshole that he tried to figure out how to give me pleasure.
Not
what
at
a
all.
jerk. I think you should look into it if it's something that you're interested in doing. I don't know what websites or what porn he watched, because I can't imagine. I never thought of porn as instructional.
I'm trying to think of like, do they really show? I mean, yes,
I
of
bet
course.
there's like
but-
instructional, like there you can take a class where you learn
You
how
can?
to do it. Yes.
Oh, there are so many. You can
Yeah.
learn so many how to give women orgasm. There are so many classes. It's
Where do you take these classes? Like
Amazing.
Valley College?
But kind of like
Like
there's,
Valley College?
not
There-
Valley College, but like
there's so many online things and so many like 3-day retreats, so many things about orgasms, and
Do you go on a 3-day retreat by yourself?
you totally can. Because
I
it's
did
all
not
about
know.
it's all about finding your pleasure. I mean,
Right,
it's
right.
for women too, because both men and women don't know how to please themselves, because there's this idea that we should know everything, and
Well, I don't think that's it. I think it's taboo.
well, I think it is. But I wonder how much society has played into the part. Like, you're a man, you should know what to do with sex.
Oh, well, that's true. Yeah.
You know, like it's a blow to your ego if you have to ask a woman if this pleases her, which it's
Right.
not. It's learning how to speak to that other person. But there are so many taboos about women and their ability to have sex and their how long it takes for them to get ready, and like it's just we're completely different characters and completely different creatures.
Completely different creatures.
There are so
Yeah.
many classes. It's absurd. I can't think of the names off the top of my head,
But there
I've
are.
worked at retreats where I've worked at retreats, love and relationship retreats, where they bring in sex therapists and orgasm, masturbation,
Right.
and it's fascinating. It's fascinating. There are
Well-
lots of places.
So, growing up, my mother was hypersexual, and she was very vocal about it. So, and then, the Baptist church, sex is only for procreation, only missionary, only for procreation.
Right.
So, I got two contradicting pieces of information constantly, right? My mother was like, woo, fuck it, whatever, just so open. And she wasn't promiscuous. She was just very open about masturbating and about, orgasms, and how she had orgasms from a really young age in the bathtub. And I would be like, oh my God, I don't want to know any of what you're talking about. You are my mother. You are not a sexual being. Why are you walking around in lace-up leather pants? I am so confused as to what you're supposed to be doing. I thought you were maybe making muffins or something, but no. She was very sexually motivated. And I associated that with bad things, because my mother and I do not have a good relationship.
Right.
She was not a conventional mother. There were no cookies baked at my house. So I grew up thinking that hypersexuality was really bad. So I didn't masturbate myself. I didn't do any of that business until I was really old, because I associated it with so many negative things, because my mother just talked about it so fucking much. And I walked in on her a few times with people that were like neighbors, and it just makes it really uncomfortable. So, but when I was older, I was like, oh, this is how you figure out how all this shit works. That's what you're supposed to. Okay, I got it. Now I understand how myself works, where I really didn't understand how myself worked before, because I think I just was like, bad people do that. Because the one person I knew who did that was bad. No one else masturbated because they were all Southern Baptists. And you just don't do that.
Of course. They
Don't
did
do
it behind closed doors and didn't talk about it, though.
Well, to me, they never did it.
Of course.
Right. So
Right.
it was such a mysterious, bad thing. I just had labeled it so bad. What were your ideas about that growing up? Did you guys have any?
Oh my God, it was never, ever talked about.
No.
Like, no, my parents, I'm sure, had sex 3 times in their life. Like, correct. That's the only reason.
So they were Southern Baptist in Maine.
Pretty much. Yes. Catholic. Same thing.
Oh my God. So they only wanted 3 children. So
They never, like, there was never any affection. There was never was it talked about. Like, I can remember one time where, like, my parents had, like, a somewhat passionate kiss. Like, literally one time. My entire life.
Wow.
That's what I remember. Like, they did not.
So they didn't have a sex talk. No sex talk.
Oh, I never had a
Nothing.
sex talk with my parents. My mom, like, there was no conversation about it whatsoever.
Yeah.
I did not learn anything from them.
I didn't need one.
So.
I didn't need one.
By nature, it was just coming up all over the place for you.
I got the talk after I'd already been having sex. My dad sat down with me. Oh my God, my poor little dad. But bless his heart. He inherited this 13-year-old girl, and I don't think he knew what to do with himself. And he came every night. He would sit on the bed with me and just recap my day, like before I went to bed. And this one night, he sat down on my bed and he wouldn't look at me, and he just went, "I think you need to go see Jeff and get the pill. Good night." That was it. Good night, and left. Jeff, by the way, was the local doctor who was one of my dad's best friends. I didn't know what it meant to get the pill. So I made an appointment with Jeff, and I went in there. I was like, "So I need to get on the pill." My dad says okay. Everything in our town worked on a barter system, so I didn't need any money. My daddy didn't need to know when we were going. I just like signed a ticket, and then my dad would fix Jeff's car so that I got my first gynecological exam from my dad's one of his closest friends.
Oh
my God.
But when I went into the doctor's office, I didn't know what a gynecologist was. I did not know that you had to have any kind of pelvic exam to get a prescription for pills. And I remember Jeff saying his wife at the time was a nurse. So Jeff and Beverly came in the room, and they were like, so you're going to put on this gown, and you're going to put the sheet across your waist, and we'll be right back. And I was like, what is happening? I just wanted to get a prescription for some medication. And then Beverly was like, no, honey, he has to do a pelvic exam. And I was like, this is my dad. I eat dinner with this guy, and he's going to look at my vagina? Oh my God. But I didn't know what to do. So I just did it anyway. He was so appropriate and completely appropriate. And his wife was there the whole time. Nothing shady happened, especially, at 48, how many gynecological exams I've had at this point. But awful. It was awful. It was awful. But I got on that was my pill introduction.
And then he came to sit at the dinner table with you, and you were like, not awkward at all.
I just totally blocked it out of my brain as if it had never happened.
How old were you? Do you remember?
I was 15.
My mom took me for the first time when I was 18. I'd already gone to college. I'd never had an exam before.
No,
like this is how much we talk about it. Yeah.
When are you supposed to have?
I don't know. That's actually a good question.
Is it when you get your period?
I don't know. I can't imagine.
I don't think so.
My 12-year-old.
No. I mean, or I don't. I wonder. Well, then
terrified.
yes. No, I guess not. Dakota hasn't gotten her period yet, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Like when you would go. I don't remember how old I was when I first went to.
I remember I was 18, but like that's not normal either.
18's pretty late. I think
I'm
it's
sure
like
that's not
16
normal
or something like that.
That can't be normal. But yeah.
How about this? When should you have your first gynecological exam? Let's see what Google says. Make an appointment today.
At 48.
You should have one today.
It's never too late.
Trying to tell you something. It says 21.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it says when you turn 21.
I have 21 too over here.
Yeah.
I wonder why 21.
I didn't know you were listening, Halston. I thought you totally zoned us out. I know. I prepped Halston for today. I was like, listen, we're talking about sex today. My apologies. So, but yeah, 21. But your mom was very responsible. She was 3 years early.
That seems so late.
Does seem really late.
If you think that girls
really
are
late.
having sex 15, 16, they're waiting 6 years to go see a doctor for the first. That's crazy.
That's some roulette right there, Russian roulette. That's crazy.
Yeah, but do you have to have an exam to get on the pill?
Yes, you do.
Yes.
Okay.
I can't even renew my prescription without an exam at 48 years old. Every year I have to go in and get it. She's like, I actually don't need to see you, but every 2 years, unless you're on the pill. And then you have to come every year. because they won't renew my prescription without it.
It's like contact lenses.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't have contacts, but I am still on the pill. So you're not on the pill?
I
No.
haven't been on the pill forever.
Really?
How are you not pregnant? Do you never have sex?
We never have sex. I stopped the pill 2 years before I got pregnant with Max and haven't been back on.
Seriously?
So 15 years ago.
Lucky.
So
How is that possible?
How is that possible?
I don't know. I had a really hard time getting pregnant with Max. And then Lily was whoops, how did that happen?
But why haven't you had another whoops? Are you using like a contraceptive?
No, we don't use anything.
That's crazy.
Oh my gosh.
We had originally wanted a third. And then I just had a really hard time. And then we got pregnant with our third. I lost it. And then I just haven't, after 40, we were like, all right, no, we're done. And I never went back on anything. And 5 years later, still not
I was going to say, you're kind of lucky. Because my doctor's like, until you're in full-blown menopause, you can get pregnant. So don't even... I got pregnant, like Bert sneezed on me. And I got pregnant.
Oh, yeah,
I got pregnant on the pill.
Yeah.
I was on the pill and I got pregnant. So I'm not on the pill anymore. I'm on the ring, which apparently is a better, like a slow
Longer term.
release.
Right.
Yeah. Where it just kind of releases all day, every day for 21 days. And then you take it out and you put one back in. It's been really great because it's a lower, I guess your body ingests less of the hormone. Like when you take a pill, you get like a blast of it.
Right.
Whereas the ring, it's just slow. So it's better for your body too, from what I understand. Although I don't know how having a plastic O-ring in your vagina for a month is good either. But
I couldn't imagine. I mean, I have an IUD, so it's the same thing because it emits it slowly. Because I can't not be on the pill. I mean, Bill would just talk to me, and I'd be pregnant anyway. Obviously, but I couldn't imagine kind of not being on. I mean, that's just amazing.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, I know that. I think it's crazy too. I don't think Sandy's on the pill either.
It's not meant
Really?
to be.
Mm-mm. Yeah. No,
They used to play with fire.
She goes, it's the push method. I'm like, push him off. Get off. Okay, you're done.
Oh my God.
I would be a nervous wreck if I weren't on some kind of birth control.
I would be taking a pregnancy test like every month. The
You
day
really
that I
would,
missed,
with your
I
four
would.
kids.
I totally would. I'd be like, I better stock up and buy stock in pregnancy tests because if I were one day late, I'd be like, oh, I better piss on a stick because for sure I'm pregnant.
Yeah.
And it runs in my family, so I they're fertile myrtles all over the place.
That's really funny. No, I would like to get off the pill. I've been trying to get Bert to have a vasectomy for probably 6 years. And he has a laundry list of fears.
Oh.
Like nothing will come out. Which is the stupidest thing ever. I'm like, cum and sperm are two different things.
Right.
Just so you know. I love
Maybe
the
you need to watch
word.
some porn about it.
Exactly. I was going to say, you took the initiative of giving me an orgasm. You can't take some initiative with figuring out about a vasectomy. So he's afraid it will lower his sex drive, which would not be a problem. I call us the bunny and the bear. He walks in and I'm like, oh my God, here's the bear. And he bats me around the room for 2 days. And then I'm like, oh my God, thank God that's over. Because the guy is like a walking erection most of the time. He's very sexual guy. So I would be cool with a lower libido. Most of our fights about sex have been about a difference in libido. Do you guys find that at your house? Is there
100%,
a difference?
yeah.
100%?
Yeah. It's like the bunny and the bear, except he's not such a bear.
Do you want it more than him?
He's a honey bear.
No, definitely not.
Interesting.
He wants it, 24/7.
Oh, well,
Maybe
yeah.
not, but pretty close. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same with me. Bert has told me many times he would have sex every single day if I would let him. And I'm like, I wouldn't even want to eat ice cream every day. Why would you want to do that every day? I couldn't do that every day. Then wouldn't it become really rudimentary? Wouldn't it? I mean, I don't know.
I mean, I guess it depends on how you
not,
play it, how you play the cards. I don't know. If it weren't so fucking messy, then I would probably be willing to do it every day. But it takes a long time, and then it's messy, and then I gotta clean. I don't want. But I don't know that Bill. I'm sure he does. He's been in such a bad place though that we don't have like this kind of sex back and forth talk. So I don't know how much he would want it.
Right.
If I can't remember. It's been so long.
Well, I can't think of a single husband in any of our group that would be like, no, I'll take once a week. I'd be okay.
No, yeah, no.
Do you know?
I'll pass. No.
No. So this is one of the things we were talking about, or we have talked about in the past with our group, with the camper group, with the husbands and the wives, is Eric is Lynn's husband, and Eric is so great in conversations like this because he's a very good listener. And one of the disconnects we were talking about last night, we had talked about before, is back to that mom, I don't want to do this, I'm so tired. The guy's perspective is it's like 7 minutes. It's not that long. But it's more than 7 minutes for a woman to have an orgasm, usually. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So then it's 7 minutes totally for you. You know?
Yeah.
I don't think Eric understood that. Like that's our perspective sometimes. Is like, but that's 7 minutes more sleep I would get. or that's 7 minutes for you to get your rocks off, you know?
Right.
Not necessarily me to get mine.
Well, physically, it's actually for a woman, it takes like 30 to 40 minutes to get to your peak to be able to have an orgasm. Mm. So for men, it's a super short window. But for us, like the foreplay is the time that we can rev our bodies up to, because, you know, we don't have like a penis that grows large at the idea of like, you know, seeing a body naked. Like we don't have that. So our whole like insides and our vulva and like everything has to swell, and it takes like 30 minutes at the least to get to that place where then you could get excited and start to get wet and actually get to an orgasm. So it's not just 7 minutes. But most people don't know that because they don't talk about that physical difference between men and women and how long it actually takes.
I don't take 30 minutes, but I take probably a good 15 to 20. But good 15, really. And then everything starts cranking.
Right.
And then that first 15, I'm like, maybe it's not working. Maybe it's not going to work. I mean, like I'm enjoying myself, but it's not happening. Oh, it's not going to happen this time. And when it doesn't happen, Bert feels like a failure. I got to make this happen, because if I don't make this happen, his ego's shot. And then I'll have to have sex again shortly so that we can repair the damaged ego from this evening. So come on, vagina. Come on, vagina. That's what and then for 15 minutes, I'm doing that with myself. And then all of a sudden, the body goes, here we go. And then it happens.
Yeah.
I'm really consistent. I'm almost like clockwork with that pattern. But mine is not 30 minutes. It's not that long. I would fall asleep in 30.
I know. Well, that's why the foreplay is like it's like talking, it's kissing, it's the idea. It's like all of that.
Connecting.
Yeah.
Because women are more, I think, I mean, I'm not a man, but I think women are more motivated by connection than physical stuff.
Yeah.
You know. What do you think, Cathy?
Yeah. Although sometimes, honestly, I'm like, 7 minutes is fine. Like, let's just, if that's what it takes, just 7 minutes and let's move on, because I really do want to just go to sleep.
I'm the same.
And I can do 7 minutes and it's fine. And he's like, yeah, I really don't want that. I want 30 minutes. And I'm like, he wants the connection. And I'm like, seriously? I just want to go to sleep. Sorry.
I'm that way too. And sometimes I'll go, let's have a quickie. And Bert goes, but I don't like quickies.
Yeah, exactly. And you're like, but
I want you to be as into it as I am.
Right. Like, and then that's the dilemma.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, but we can have sex and it's fine. Like, I'm okay with that.
Right.
But I just want it to be like quick and whatever.
Right.
And, but then you don't want that. So how do we connect in between? How does that happen?
And now can I ask you, do you have a good orgasm if you're at like 7 minutes?
Oh, no. But like, if I'm going into it knowing that I'm not going to, I'm fine. Do you know what I mean? Where I'm like, okay, we haven't had sex in a while. He definitely needs to have sex. I'm fine. Like, let's just, but I'm not mentally there.
Right.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean.
I can still have sex without having an orgasm.
Yeah,
you
me
know
too.
what I mean?
And it's
Not
still
the
enjoyable.
same. Yeah, but it's just a different kind of sex.
Right.
And he's not interested in that kind of sex in general.
No, because they just want to please us.
Yeah.
They do. That's the
Which
thing.
is great.
Right. It's a turn on for them.
But sometimes you're like...
You heard just what happens in my head. There's a lot going on in my head. It's not like for 15 minutes. It's like, come on. Let's do it. Got to get it done. So I know exactly what you mean. I have the same.
Yeah.
I have the same guy. I think Stephen and Bert are much more tender, sensitive men than most, or than a lot. So that connection, even though that's kind of a female thing, it's kind of Bert's thing. I know I can't speak for Stephen, but it's kind of Bert's thing too. Is the connection is paramount for him, and then sometimes I'm like, I'm the same with you. Let's just to have quickie.
Right. Let's just do it.
Yep. Get it done.
Like it is on that checklist of things that has to get done today.
Right.
Next to Costco and like whatever.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm just not in the mood. I don't want to get my naked. I don't want to take my clothes off. I don't want to shower. Before or after or whatever. I just worked out. I feel disgusting.
Oh yeah.
I'm just tired. You know, the litany of reasons that are Bert doesn't understand, and not that he's like, I don't understand, but he really doesn't. His
brain doesn't process it like that.
No, it doesn't. Yeah. And remember, I don't know if you were here or not. We were in the kitchen months ago, and I said, I think one of the differences between men and women is that we prioritize sex differently. Men, it's like, make money to provide for my family, have sex, and then work out and, you know, have a date night or whatever. Ours is like, make dinner, clean the house, take care of this, pay the bills, Sex is like number 7. So if you're at number 2 and we're at number 7, do you see the disconnect? You know, I got to do homework with Isla. I've got to help her practice reading. I got to make sure everybody does piano. I got to do drop off and pick up today. I got to go to tennis. I got to, for the girls. And then at some point we'll have sex, you know. I think that's pretty valid from that conversation. Were you here for that conversation I had in the kitchen?
I think so. I don't remember,
too,
but I think so.
Well, that makes perfect sense why you would say, I don't understand why it's not so important to you, because it's just not in the list of priorities. There are bigger things to do.
But I'm not even sure that it's not a priority. It's just, I feel like life takes over.
Right.
Homework has to get done. It's not that it's more important than sex.
No.
It just comes first because it has to.
Right.
And I think that's part of the disconnect.
Yes.
It's because they're not doing homework. They're not seeing that every day. They're not in that world. So for them, they're like, whatever, let them do their own friggin' homework.
Right.
You're like, well, that's
it's all done before I get home.
Right.
So right. It's just so funny though, because that's not how we thought before we had kids or got married. Like, we just had sex, right? You didn't have a to-do list. Like,
no.
you just had sex. It was fucking great. You were excited about the person.
Yeah.
And so it's so funny that it goes from one extreme to the other.
Yeah.
Like, if you think about how much you had sex before you had kids to how much you have sex now, it's set. I mean, for me in our relationship, it was like, it could be like 3 times a day. We just had nothing else, you know, we'd work and have sex and eat and then have sex again. But why, like, my thing is, why does it have to be such an extreme then? It's like, to go from that to once a week is great for us to schedule, you know, because it's not that it's not a priority, but it's like, it's changed so much. We've allowed it to change so much. We've let life get in the way, where it was a priority before. It was, you know, does that make sense? I mean,
it does sort of make sense. I think it was maybe not a priority. There were just less things on the list.
Right.
You know, if you have a list with 5 items and a list with 50, then your energy is depleted with that list of 50.
Yeah.
No matter what you do. You still have 50 fucking things to do. And at the end of the day, if you've only done 5, you feel pretty good. But if you've done all 50, you're like, fuck me. I got to go to bed, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. Sex is number 49. You know? 50 is like clipping my toenails. Come on. I got to go to bed. So I think that's part of it. I mean,
I also think part of the list is, you know, back then, you could have sex all weekend because you didn't have, like, that was part of the relationship and getting to know and building that relationship. Whereas that doesn't necessarily need to happen now. That relationship has been there for 20 years. You know what I mean?
That's very true.
So I think the list included having sex, connecting, all of that kind of stuff, where it doesn't now. Like
Yes.
it's a different, you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. Like you're transitioned into a different phase in your life as an individual and as an individual in this
Right.
relationship, right?
And as a married couple, as parents, as, you know, like all of that has changed.
Yeah. It has. I just wonder how many relationships would actually be saved from affairs or divorce had it didn't so drastically change that way. Like you go into a separate, you know, you evolve into this relationship. You've been together for 20 years. And then that's how infidelity happens, because suddenly more things are higher on the list of priorities than that person. Even though like before we had kids, I mean, kids adds like a massive amount of, you know, responsibility to your list, but we still had to pay bills. We still had to clean the house.
Right.
We still had to do, you know, a good portion of the things that we have to do now. So I think about it in terms of myself, like I should make this should be a priority. I don't want to you know, live in this like I don't want to live this way. It's so not exciting,
right?
Like to make the list everything before sex,
right?
Even though that's what happens. I just wonder that because we are busy in a different time of our lives, but then people have affairs all the time because we make excuses of like, well, we have this long laundry list of things to get done, so we're not going to do this anymore and pay attention because we've already been together for 20 years. We don't have to do it anymore.
That's an interesting perspective. So I know right after I had, I guess after I had both kids, but you know, you have to wait 6 weeks to have sex.
Right.
Oh, it was really hard for Bert. And even though I was like, you heard the doctor say, you saw
Right.
the vagina explode.
Yes.
You saw the stitches put into the vagina.
Yes.
Ain't nothing happening down there.
No.
It might even be 8 weeks.
Longer than 6.
You just may need to calm down.
Yes.
And he could not calm down. He was a tantrumy shit ass after Georgia from week, not joking, like week 3 on. And it made me so angry because I was like, I'm not withholding this from you on purpose. I have stitches in my vagina.
Yeah.
So can you just jerk yourself off or something and be a little more compassionate? But we had a lot of conversations after we were back to having sex about how hard that was for him and how hard it was for me and how he thought that type of shift is why people cheat. Is because men still want the sex when they want it. They don't care that you have stitches in your vagina. I want the fucking sex. And when you can't give it to them after a certain period of time, they just go get it somewhere else. I'm sure that's one in many scenarios of why people would cheat. But it made sense to me for someone who's wired like Bert, who is so sexually focused with his wife, to be denied over and over and over and over again. To go, well, I'm devalued somehow, so I'm going to go somewhere where I can get what I'm asking for and feel validated in some way by, you know, fucking somebody else outside of my marriage. So I don't know. We had a lot of conversations about that, but he never, ever was like, I'm going to cheat on you.
Right.
But he was just trying to give me a window into his feelings about something I clearly did not understand. Because I kept going, if you had stitches in your penis, I would be asking you how you're feeling and trying to take care of you. And if the doctor said, yeah, your penis is going to be totally out of commission for 6 to 8 weeks, I would never have even asked you. I would never have touched you. I would never have flirted with you. I would have left that penis alone.
Right.
But that is not what happened in reverse. It was like, knock, knock, knock. Let's get it done. How long? How long? It was a lot of pressure, you know? So I was like, well, what can I... I'm sorry. My whole shit just turned inside out. I don't want anything down there. No. Maybe forever. I'm traumatized from what has happened to my vagina. But it was an interesting... moment in time in our relationship where and it happened again after Isla was born.
Right.
He learned nothing from the first time because I had both kids vaginally, so I had stitches both times, and I had 6 weeks recovery both times, and calm down, and he just couldn't do it. couldn't calm down.
Well, it's about connecting with you. So it's the sexual act, but it's also about connecting with you,
That's right.
because that's how they feel. That's how, you know, some people feel closer, is by needing that physical contact.
Yes.
And so it's, you know, of course it ends in feeling something great, but it's also then how do I get closer to her? I can't get closer to her any other way, but like, I'm the only one who can have sex with her. So
Right.
that's how we can connect.
Well, that I think came from we can have sex whenever we want all weekend long.
Right.
That's how I connect.
Right.
Now that's been removed. So how do you connect? He's not really the best sometimes at change. You know, and that's a big change to say
Yes,
we can
yeah.
connect by playing a board game.
Yes.
Which sounds lame, but it is, or we can connect by watching a movie. We can connect by having conversation about something. We can connect by going to play golf. I mean, you know, there's other ways that you can, it's not the same as sex.
Right.
But it's something. It's better than fighting over the fact that my vagina is blown out. You know, and going, I can't give you the answer you're looking for. I can't.
No. I'll never forget that first time after having all the kids. That first time sex is like, if I forget anything else about having kids, it is not that first time after having that baby. Oh my God.
It's scary.
It's frightening. It's frightening.
Did you have C-section or did you have vaginal?
No, they were both vaginal.
Were you scared the first time?
I don't remember being scared necessarily, but I was like, well, maybe I was scared, but I was like, okay, we're just going to go super slow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, let's be gentle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't move that way.
Right.
No, right there. Right there.
Yeah.
Slow. Slow and steady wins the race.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I had a hard time with my episiotomy spot.
Yes.
For like 2 years.
Yeah.
After each
Oh, really?
kid. So in between the two kids, it was the whole time. That one spot was just numb. And
Oh.
so, you know, when there's like friction.
Yeah.
And then there's this one area that's just totally numb. I would go like, am I in pain? Or am I just not feeling anything?
Yes.
Or I'm not
Oh,
sure what's
interesting.
happening. But that's I don't even know where the spot is anymore. But it took 2 years after Isla before it went away. And I don't think people talk about that, you know.
No.
About post-baby sex. It sucks. It's not
sucks.
fun.
Yeah, it's not fun.
No.
It's not great. It's not great sex. And it's not great emotionally because you're like, you know, I was always afraid I was going to get in he would do something wrong and it
Yeah.
would be like extremely painful.
Yeah.
That never really happened. But I did have that little episiotomy spot for a while.
That is interesting. It's not
that.
something that's talked about.
It's not. There's a lot about after having a baby not talked about. When I had Georgia, I had a terrible smell. Like I smelled like rotting meat.
Oh,
Like literally
yeah.
like when you open a bad steak.
Yeah.
That's what I smelled like when I went to the bathroom. Every time I went to the bathroom. So of course I go back to the gynecologist. I'm like, what the hell is this?
Right.
shit?
Right.
I smell like carrion. like vultures are going to start following my car. This is terrible. And she said, you know, some women have that. It's a hormonal thing.
Right.
I didn't have it with Isla. I don't know what it was about Georgia, but shortly after that, my friend, who's a chiropractor, who went to medical school, right? Obviously not to be a gynecologist, but she was pregnant with twins. And I said, let me just tell you something. This might happen. And it was awful because I was so self-conscious.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Awful.
Is my vagina going to now smell like dead meat forever?
Forever.
What is happening? And it was there after I'd stopped bleeding. Like I thought it was just connected
Right,
to
the
the
flow.
blood.
Yeah.
It was not. It was just connected to hormones that took some time to readjust, right? So my friend Noelle had twins. And she called me later and said, I am so glad you told me about that because that happened to me too. And I had never heard of it. I had never read it in a book. The doctor never told me it could happen. I didn't learn that in medical school. And it is one of the worst self-esteem periods I've ever had because you just, you smell it standing in line at Target.
Yeah.
And there's
Right.
nothing you can do to make it smell
Right.
or better. So you just have to wait till it settles, you rebalance
your body, yeah.
And she was like, it was the worst. I wouldn't let Jeff near me. I wouldn't let him come anywhere near me.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. It's really hard to process. But I had no idea that was even a possibility. until it happened to me. And then I told everybody. I was like, just so you know, if this happens, this is normal. Just so you know. So you can take a deep breath and go, some people smell like dead meat.
It'll get better.
It goes away.
Did it stop after you stopped breastfeeding Georgia?
No, it stopped way before that.
Way before that.
It stopped at probably like 12 weeks after I had her.
Okay.
But it was
That's a
all
long
day,
time.
every day.
Yeah.
It was a long time.
That's so interesting. I think people share the stuff that, like, my sister-in-law gave me a heads up about hemorrhoids. She had this whole, like, hers were horrible. She had this whole long story about them. And I was like, oh my God, what are you talking about?
Right.
I've never heard about this. It's not written anywhere. They don't tell you anything about it.
no.
And you're like, okay.
But it happens.
Yeah.
I had hemorrhoids.
Yeah, me too.
My sister-in-law had terrible hemorrhoids to the point where she thought she had anal cancer. Her hemorrhoids were so bad.
Oh, it's so sad.
And they're so painful. But
Yeah.
It's horrible. Yeah.
nobody talks about that either.
And they don't want to talk about any of the bad shit.
No, but we should
Yeah,
know
but
this
you should
stuff.
know.
Yeah,
Should
you
not-
totally should.
Like, you're freaking out already about this kid that you don't know what to do with.
But it's because people don't want to talk. It's private. They were brought up in whatever way. You don't talk about this shit. It's, shameful. I mean, there are so many reasons why people don't talk about these things.
And it affects your sex life.
It does.
It fully affected my sex
Yeah.
life. I was like, I don't want you down there
Yeah.
anywhere. Like, at all. I don't want you to have that smell in your brain
Right.
anywhere and relate it to me ever. Because if we're here for the duration,
Yeah.
we're here till we're 90, I don't want you at 85 to go, oh, that smells like my wife's vagina. When we're at the butcher, right? Oh, my wife's pussy smelled like that at some point in our life. I don't remember when, but, I was like, I don't want you to know what's going on. And of course, I couldn't keep him out of it because he was like TikTok.
Of course. Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy. So I went online and looked up a bunch of stuff about sex.
Yeah.
I found some interesting
Did you watch
facts.
porn?
Well, I did. I watched
You
porn.
did.
Porn perplexes me. I go, what is wrong with this young lady that this is what she does? Poor thing. And then part of me goes, but I guess it's what she wants to do. Maybe
Right.
it was her dream.
Right.
It's not my dream, but
Maybe.
maybe it's hers.
Yeah.
Okay, and some people learn from it. Some of it's just bad. You were talking about this before somehow, and I thought about this quote. I heard Dr. Phil say one time that sex is 10% of a marriage unless there's something wrong with it. And if something's wrong with your sex life, it's 90% of your marriage.
Oh.
Interesting.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know that time period when I couldn't have sex after babies, that was all
Everything.
he talked about, and everything related to that issue. And I wonder how many people are like that. They have a hiccup sexually,
Yeah.
and they don't talk about that sexual hiccup or try to learn how to please each other or figure out how their own body works, and so it becomes everything. I wonder. 'Cause that's something in some ways is pretty simple to fix. To take one of the classes you're talking about,
Right.
To watch a lot of porn.
I mean,
No, not really.
I would be curious to hear the actual statistic of how many relationships it affects, because I think it's probably more common than not.
I think so too.
So I would venture to guess it's a very high percentage of marriages that affects, which is why then you seek pleasure elsewhere.
Right.
Because somebody's paying attention to you.
Right.
That's interesting, though, because I didn't think about it only being like 10% of a marriage if it's not an issue. Like, it seems like sex would be more than 10% of a marriage.
I think 10% is about right for me, because if I think about all the other things that are important to both of us, it's probably about 10%, maybe 15. But it's somewhere in that low percentage because we're both concerned about how each other feels, about
Right.
how we're doing in our careers, how our kids are growing, how our house,
All the other life
all the
stuff.
other life stuff. Because sex is working, we don't think about it as much.
Right. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not the focus. Maybe it's 10% of 15% of the focus. But I don't know. I thought it was an interesting statistic. I heard
That
that
is.
years ago, and it stuck with me forever. So I've always thought, then that means you have to really take care of your sex life. Because if it's
Right.
taken care of, it's 10% of your life.
right.
If it's not taken care of, it's 90%, then
a
that's really
problem.
easy to prevent.
Yeah.
Like I took that as a preventative medication kind of.
But I wonder if that's true for every issue. Do you know what I mean? Like if you're not having an issue, then it's probably about 10% of your marriage. And then if something comes up if it's not sex or something else, it becomes all encompassing.
Like financial.
Yeah.
Like if you're having financial problems, it becomes
right.
everything.
That's what you're totally focused on in that moment
health
until you
problem.
can get rid of it or deal with it or whatever and come to some sort of resolution or
It's probably a really good point. Because if I were diagnosed with cancer, everything would be about me having cancer.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
I'm just curious then to know what that percentage is of all of those things. Like what?
Well, I think the question is, so if you have this problem and it is 90% of your focus, like what in your relationship can help you deal with that so that you can forge forward together instead of going out and cheating or doing whatever and dissolving the marriage. You know what I mean?
Most people don't want to do that work.
At some point in every relationship, there's going to be a 90. Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
you're
at
right.
some point, there's going to be something that comes up in your life, in your marriage. So how do you move from this focus of 90%, which clearly isn't healthy, but like you both have to move forward on the same path? Like that's I don't know. That's what I think is interesting. Like how many people can then figure it out?
That is a really interesting point.
Yeah.
And how do you do that?
Yeah.
How do you do that? What's the resource for that? For whatever the subject is.
Right.
Sex or health or money or a kid in trouble. If you have a kid that's an addict, I would imagine if one of our kids turned out to be an addict, that would be all Bert and I thought about.
Yeah.
It's really fascinating.
Well, that's a whole other podcast.
Maybe a whole other podcast. Okay, another statistic. Most couples have sex once a week. So I have sex once a week.
Yeah, on a good
say
time.
that.
Yeah.
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 Pretty accurate.
Pretty average. Okay. 48% of women and 64% of men have an orgasm during sex. I was really surprised at 64% of men having an orgasm. I've never had sex, maybe a handful of times where he didn't have an orgasm.
No kidding.
So 64% really surprised me, right?
Like
They are really good fakers if that's the case.
Right?
Like because
Little
we
whipped
would
cream.
know, right? Like you would feel that unless you're wearing a condom. Like you feel that shit going in there.
Well, it drips off out of your body.
Right.
I mean, I guess if you're wearing a condom, you could fake it, but
Yeah, but then you'll know still because there will be cum in the condom.
well, not everybody looks like
not if
a
you're
little
paying
bitty penis. Look at that condom. I see what you got there. But I was just
That's
really shocked
wild.
at that. So then what happens to those 36% of those, the 36% of the guys that don't have an orgasm?
Do they walk around with blue balls all day?
That's
Do they
my
go to the
question.
bathroom and
Is blue balls a myth?
right, that's what I was thinking. Like have we just been calling that and it's just not even true?
I don't think we started that rumor.
It's not a myth.
Okay, Halston confirms that it is not a myth. Thank you, Halston.
But 36%.
That's a pretty high percentage of guys that aren't having an orgasm during sex. Why? Are they becoming flaccid
all
in the middle?
time? Like what? That's really interesting.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right. How many times of sex is that
Right.
based
Does that mean
on?
like once in their life they didn't have an orgasm? That could happen.
That's a good question.
Right?
Like if you have
Or is
sex
it, like,
4
every
times a
time?
week, is it one out of 4 that you don't have an orgasm?
Right.
Like how do you find that actually?
I don't know. You guys do the research next time.
Yeah.
I just had some hot spots to discuss. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know. That's a really good question. How did they determine this percentage? And yeah, I don't know.
Are they testing like 8-year-old boys who haven't had orgasms yet? I mean, like
Hope they're not having sex. It does say during sex.
oh, during sex. It does say
during
during
sex,
sex.
yes.
No, I mean, I would hope not, but like,
But what's interesting too is I think 48% of women is high.
48% is high.
48%
Of
are
women
not
are having an
are
orgasm
having
during
orgasm.
sex.
You think that's high?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
70% of women cannot have an assisted orgasm. Like
Yeah,
there is
unassisted, you've got a partner.
no, like a real, like without masturbating or having a vibrator or using something extra.
Really?
Yes. It is such an anomaly if you can actually have an orgasm without the help. the extra help, because most men don't know how to touch the G-spot.
Right,
Some women
right.
don't even have it, or they
Wait,
don't even
some
know.
women don't have a G-spot?
They don't know where they don't know how to access it.
Got it.
No, it's a crazy number of women who can actually have who need the help. It's like 70%. I can't remember the exact numbers. I can.
I
look it up.
wonder why.
Crazy.
I have one friend who has a machine she puts on her finger, and that's the only way she can have an orgasm. Is with that
Ever?
thing.
Yeah.
She's never been able to have one without. And part of me, when she was talking, I was thinking, well, maybe you just spoiled yourself too early. Maybe you used the machine too early. And if you'd learned how to get yourself off without the machine, then you wouldn't need the machine. But that's just me in my country bumpkin brain thinking, we ain't got no machines in rural Georgia. We got to figure that shit out, you know?
Right.
But I wonder, since you've quoted that statistic, if she's one of the people that just can't do that without assistance. I'm taking this sexuality coaching program right now. So I was actually talking to one of the other women who is a sexologist, and this is just an added training for her. And she was telling me that it's 70%, somewhere around 70% of women need the extra assistance. Wow. I don't need extra assistance.
Which is fantastic. I do.
Do you need extra assistance,
No.
Kathy? No.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Bert tries to bring in extra assistance, and I'm like, why? It's just distracting to me. It's just a buzzing.
Right.
I think I got to turn alarm clock off somewhere. I don't really care about that thing. You're doing just fine.
Right.
I don't need that thing.
Right.
And he was like, I just thought it would like spice it up. And I'm like, it's so distracting to me. It's really distracting.
And there are classes and things that you can take that would teach you those things.
So you like use them like nunchucks?
Yeah. There's like this tapping thing. I mean, there are so many things that will teach
you're
you
talking
how
about
to
tap?
find your G spot.
Oh my God. Bert has a thing on his new special where he watched a porn.
Yeah.
Where they said this tap
Yeah,
thing.
tapping.
yeah.
And then he tried it in the bedroom, except it was a little too hard. The tap was a little more intense than I think was intended, because he's a guy and he's like a bear.
Yeah, he doesn't know.
Yeah.
He's like a bear. So that didn't work.
Yeah.
You know what else doesn't work? Hot sauce on your hands.
Oh, no.
Don't cook buffalo hot wings and then have sex. Not good.
Well, just wash your hands beforehand.
Bert doesn't even brush his teeth. No. Another statistic: 48% of women have faked an orgasm.
Oh, that's totally believable.
I
Except
think
that
it
would be more.
higher, right?
I guess.
I don't fake.
I don't
have
understand
sex if
that.
I don't have an
I
orgasm.
did back in the day. So you guys didn't shop around. I shopped around back in the day.
I may have done it back in the day.
Back
I
then.
did shop a little bit, not numerous years worth, but
I didn't know what an orgasm was. So I would act like I was having one based on things I'd seen on movies or whatever, so that the guy would feel better. I'd feel really bad until I learned my body, and I went, "Oh, that's an orgasm. No wonder those women are screaming." Okay, now I get it. But I was older before, like I said before I figured myself out. So anyway, I thought that was a low number. I thought that this was a really low number too, but maybe not in the country we live in today. 83% of couples have premarital sex with their spouse. Only 83%?
really?
Yeah.
That seems fairly accurate.
You would marry somebody without having sex
No.
with them? Really?
Never. But
no, but
it
I
goes
think
in
there's a
ebbs and
lot of
flows.
people that would.
Really?
Yeah.
How
The
could you do that?
middle, I mean,
Like, yeah.
crazy religious people who believe that not
Yeah,
crazy religious,
that like don't
but
even
no,
have their
just-
first kiss until they're wedded. Like there are a lot of people I think that think like that.
I think that's crazy.
I think it's crazy too.
Don't
but-
you want to know that you jive, man?
Yeah, I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand that world, but I think there are a lot of people who do.
But I guess if you've never had sex before, you don't know what you're missing.
Well, I have a relative who was a virgin when she got married, and I always wonder about their happiness.
Yeah, like she doesn't know though. She didn't know what she's missing out
I
on.
think at a certain point you probably know maybe you're not enjoying yourself or something like that. I don't know.
Wow.
1/3 of women have had anal sex. I have never had anal sex. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's just, I just never have. But 1/3 of women
Have had or have? Yeah.
have had.
I wonder if that.
mean-
I wonder when that statistic came out, and I actually wonder if it will change because it goes in ebbs and flows with teenagers. About they were having anal sex because that wasn't losing their virginity. So
Really? I thought
Yeah.
that was just like oral sex. Like somehow oral sex was not actual sex.
No,
For a
I
time
think there
period
was
for
a period of
teenagers.
time
Remember that.
where they were like anal sex, doing anal sex. There's no, you still have your virginity intact.
That's
That's
bullshit.
messed up.
That's bullshit. Even the oral sex, because
Well, yeah.
I don't know. I think when you're fully naked with somebody and somebody's having an orgasm, you're kind of having sex.
You are,
Yeah.
totally. It doesn't matter where or what hole it's in.
No, it doesn't
It's
matter
sex.
what hole it's in. No.
But if you want to keep your virginity, and you're not having sex in the vagina, so your cherry's not being popped.
That's a lie.
I mean, I think it's bullshit,
Yeah.
but
That's a total lie.
those are rumors that do go around. So I wonder how much that statistic fluctuates.
You have too many questions about my statistics.
I thought we're discussing sex.
I know, but me too. I didn't know we were going to break apart all my statistics. I would have just kept it on the computer so I could tell you my source instead of compiling them.
They're fascinating statistics.
They are. I should have written down my source. I got it from a couple different websites. I actually didn't just go to one place.
Right.
I searched around, and some of the statistics were consistent in both sites. So
Yeah.
I went with, and that makes, in my mind, a bit more accurate, especially because it's on the internet.
Yes.
Right.
Well, of course.
No, but
Facts.
really, I was like, well, if they're one's 83 and one's 82, then it's probably
yeah.
about right.
Pretty accurate,
So
yeah.
they've compiled some somewhat accurate information. Married women are twice as likely to orgasm. 75% more likely to orgasm than single women.
What?
I wonder
In
why.
my case, that's absolutely true. In my case, that was true because the comfort that I have with Bert and how Bert understands my body is I have an orgasm every single time.
Yeah.
Unless we have a quickie, like a 7-minute, whatever. But if there's any effort at all, he just knows how to get it done. And it works every time. So I'm having orgasms pretty much every time.
Yeah.
Whereas when I was having sex before, I wasn't. Because that guy didn't know my body. Maybe I wasn't comfortable enough with my body with him, that other person to have an orgasm. So but 75% seemed really high. That 75% more. than
That
single
does
women.
seem really high, but then that makes sense as you break it down because you're right. There's an ease of comfort with your partner.
It's like a shortcut.
Yeah.
Like he just kind of knows she
Yeah.
doesn't like this part. She likes
Right.
this part. Let's just do this part, and then we'll get there. We'll cut her 30 minutes to 15. Right? TikTok. Mama's got to go to bed.
Right.
84% of women say they have sex so their man will help them with housework.
Is that working for them?
Yeah, right?
My man don't do no housework. Let me tell you, I can't even get him to take out the garbage.
We have sex and he's asleep. Like there's
Right?
no housework being done
No.
afterwards.
No, I think that means you have
Like,
sex
in general?
anticipation of a man enthusiastically doing housework.
I
Yeah,
wonder if
that's not happening in our house.
It doesn't happen for me either.
No.
But do you think that some women think if
I'm
I
sure.
fuck him, he'll
Yes.
do ABC?
Absolutely.
I think
I'm
some
sure
women
that's
think
probably
that way.
true.
Tit
But
for tat.
And I think some women feel cared for and almost like a foreplay. Like, oh, he took out the garbage. I now have a connection to him in a different way because he's cared for me. I wonder if that's maybe what the statistic was more about. Like it's in reverse. If he does the housework, I'm more inclined to have sex. Because, women and men have different value systems for care.
well, it's part of that foreplay.
Yeah.
That conversation, that whatever I feel taken care of.
Right.
So I'm more
Right.
likely to get in the mood. And that's part of,
Right.
maybe.
I know for me, I know that Bert gets really frustrated with me sometimes because I get frustrated with him when he asks me to do stuff like scratch his back or rub his feet.
Yeah.
When I go, I've just picked up 4 pair of your shoes around my house. I've tripped over the fucking size 13 shoes 3 times today. And you want me to scratch your back?
Oh, yeah.
Kiss my ass. That's how I feel sometimes when he'll say, hey babe, will you come in here and just do this or rub my feet? I'm like, I'm pissed because I've just done all this other shit that I really shouldn't have to be doing. That any responsible adult should do on their own. Just put your shoes to the side. I don't even need you to put them up. Just don't leave them in the middle of the goddamn floor so I fall over them all the time. If the garbage is full, don't continue to put shit in the garbage.
Right.
Just take it out. And I shouldn't have to ask you to do that, because as a grown-up, you should say, garbage is full. Maybe I'll take it out. So then I don't leverage sex, but I know sometimes when because Bert, I don't know if you know this, can be needy.
You'd know.
And likes very much to be the king and like pampered and taken care of, and likes a lot of back scratching and a lot of neck rubbing and a lot of foot rubbing and a lot of trimming my toenail, like that kind of shit that I'm like, seriously, I don't ask you to do any of this for me. But
You should.
It always leads to sex. If I asked him to clip my toenails, he'd be like, okay, so when are we naked? Every time. There's no cuddling, no snuggling, no affection unless we are in such a public place that there's no possible way my clothes could explode off my body in moments. He can't handle that.
That's my biggest pet peeve, actually, is that it all has to lead to sex.
Oh, I hate it.
Like, I can scratch your back and you're not expecting sex, but you're going to scratch my back and then we're going to have sex.
It's my house.
I can't stand it.
I hate it too. And so then I'm like, then you don't get to scratch my
Right.
back.
You don't get to touch me.
No, because if you touch me at all,
Yes.
skin to skin, fingertips to back of arm scratch. And he's like, oh, baby.
Well, even a hug. Does he do that with a hug?
Oh,
too?
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Because I don't get a hug without an ass grab.
Well, I get a hug without an ass grab, but it doesn't come much without a boner. It comes with a boner.
He's like a
The boner happens
15-year-old.
after the hug. The hug happens, and then he's like, look at that. Look at that. Look what just happened. And I'm like, oh, my God. And his defense is, I think we've talked about this with the campers, too. His defense is, you should be so excited that all it takes for you is a hug. And I'm like, I am, but it kind of makes a hug a threatening environment. Because now a hug means I'm going to have a penis in me in 2 seconds flat. And I just want a hug. And I would like to scratch your back, and I would like for you to scratch my back. But we've had so many conversations about this, because he's like, I don't understand why we don't ever cuddle. And I've said, how many times can you count that we've cuddled and it not led to sex? So if I don't want sex, I don't want the cuddle. Because if I get the cuddle, it's a package deal. And sometimes I just want the cuddle. So then I'll just cuddle with my dog or my cat, because he complains a lot that I cuddle and I love on our animals in the way that he would like to be cuddled on. But it can't just be a cuddle. Is Steven like that?
He's not as bad as that, but yes.
Well, Steven's very affectionate with you.
He's very affectionate,
Yes.
and he's okay. Like, we definitely, like, he can cuddle and it not lead to sex, but if it's been the week, do you know what I mean?
yeah.
Then it's like,
It's
there's
happening. It's
absolutely
going down.
no touching without sex involved. Yeah.
It's been the week.
Yeah. Like, if we've gone more than 5 days and there's any touching involved, then it's definitely sex. But in like after sex, there's like days where it's just pure cuddling, super happy.
I love that.
Like,
I do too.
He's really sweet.
He is a very sweet man. He adores you.
Yes.
He feels like he's married Cindy Crawford with a heart of like Madame Curie. Like he's just so in
He
love
is
with you.
very delusional.
He is not delusional. He's not delusional, by the way. But he is.
Yes, I'm super
It's so
lucky.
sweet.
Is
After
very sweet.
this long,
Exactly.
he's still
completely in love with you.
Yeah.
He told me the story about when he first saw Cathy.
Oh God,
I thought it
this
was
is
the
so
cute.
awful.
It is not awful. It's the cutest thing ever. So I was like, "How did you and Cathy meet?" And he was like, "Oh my god, oh my god." We were at Boston College. Where was it?
No, Clark University. This
Clark
was undergrad.
University.
We were babies.
Yeah, I knew,
Yeah.
but somewhere over there. And he was like, she was standing at this fountain and she had her leg up on the fountain. I don't know, maybe tying her shoe. And I just thought, oh my God, that is the most beautiful woman I have ever seen. It was the cutest thing to have him retell it today. It's been how long?
Yes, I know. 25 years.
It was like he walked up on Lady Godiva at the fountain. It's the most picturesque, beautiful memory.
Oh.
It's the sweetest thing. I love Stephen for the way that he loves you most of all.
It is
Yes.
amazing.
It's
I'm
really
very
amazing.
lucky.
Yeah. You are very lucky.
Very lucky. Yeah.
And you got Lenore in the package, which is also so lucky.
That's a whole different conversation.
That is a whole different. We should have a podcast about living with your mother-in-law.
You should not have a conversation. No.
Well, Lenore doesn't listen to these podcasts. Let's
my
hope not.
My husband does.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Oh, well, Stephen, sorry.
yeah.
Okay, another statistic. Men's number one preferred position. Can you guess it?
Doggy style.
Doggy style.
Oh.
I hate doggy style.
I do too.
I hate it. I feel so disconnected. I feel like a piece of meat.
Yeah.
I hate it. Women most preferred, which I was surprised at this, is missionary. That's not my most preferred.
It's
but
mine.
Oh,
is
it's
it?
mine.
Yeah.
My knees hurt. My hips hurt.
Knees hurt. And then number 3 for both is cowgirl.
Yeah.
So I guess number 2 for men is missionary too. So in this hashtag Me Too society, you ladies like missionary, we're just getting fucked. And you're on top. You get to be in control of the rhythm and the speed and the what's going on. So I see who's the liberal one in this party.
Yes. Really.
The one with more experience, obviously.
It depends on my mood.
I did have maybe a little more experience. Maybe I just a little bit. Whatever. Nobody's fucking me over. You know, that's interesting. I wonder. No, I'm not even going to say that. Never mind. It's interesting, though, based on my past experience. And my past experience, definitely I was not on top in a moment of trauma. So I wonder if that has something to do with why I like being on top. I mean, I don't dislike missionary. I'm fine with that. I don't have any like, oh my God, I'm having flashbacks when that's happening. I'm fine with it, but it's definitely not my favorite. It's not as bad as doggy style, but it's my number 2. But I wonder if that has something to do with it. Because I'm surprised that both of you prefer missionary and that so many women prefer it like it's their number 1, because I don't see it that way. So I wonder if mine's just tainted.
I actually like all things. It depends on my mood. If I want to be quick and done, and if I just want to have sex for the act of having sex, but I don't want to connect with him, then let's totally do doggy style. Then I don't have to kiss you. Like I just can have sex, right?
Right.
And
it can be the 7 minutes. And
yeah. Like I'm good. But so it really depends on where I am in my space, with him, or in my with myself.
With you, yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah. Every time we do that, I'm like, it's not super comfortable. Like it's, not to be super graphic, but it hurts.
Okay.
You know, it's too deep.
Yeah,
it
yeah.
hurts. So then I don't relax because the whole time I'm like, oh yeah, is it hurt? Is it don't hurt? And then it'll hurt, and I'm like, and then it messes the mood, and I can't help that it hurts. You know, it's not my fault.
Right.
I'm not doing anything wrong. It's usually in the progression of, we don't just start out that way. It's usually like the second or third position that we're in by the time we get to that position.
Right.
So I'm definitely lubed and warmed up, and so everything's relaxed, but it's too hard for me. It hurts. So I don't know. Did you know that people over 65 years old still have sex once a week?
That's amazing. And yes, I believe that.
I sort of believe that. Sort of. But I think about my grandparents and I go, definitely not. They definitely were not having sex once a week. But then you think about my in-laws and I go, maybe. I can see that. But that's kind of cool. It's something to look forward to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, one would hope, right?
One would hope, but, you know,
It does seem weird.
acrobatic a bit at that age. Like the knee replacement, hip
you know what?
replacement.
Although,
What's going
I
on?
think it depends on the people too.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, having just lost, 10 pounds, which is not that much weight, but still enough.
Yeah.
I can tell a big difference in sex because it is a bit athletic.
Yeah.
You know, and I wonder about that. Like, how do really overweight people have sex and it not be just massively exhausting? And then also when you're 65 and you have an ache here and a pain there, and, you know, I have this little glitch in my back, and sometimes when it's really inflamed, sex is not enjoyable.
Right.
And I go, if this were my pain every day, I just would never have sex because this is so uncomfortable. And, you know, when you're in your 60s, those things start happening. I just found that to be awesome and also a bit surprising.
Yeah, but if you have continued, if that's the way that you've always lived your life, then you're just continuing on that path. If you've had sex once a week and you just continue to do that the older that you get, then I mean, it does make sense because it keeps your body limber in some ways, and you know, it's like keeping with your hobbies, your golfing, like you keep moving your body,
right,
so you don't, you know, you don't
65 is also younger these days than it used to be.
You're
65
right.
is not super old anymore.
Yeah, you're right.
So it's not so surprising, I guess.
Yeah, maybe not. You're right. 65 is the new 45. 45 is the new what? 25?
No.
Yeah.
35? 45 is the new 35?
Maybe.
Yeah.
So blowjobs.
Oh, I fucking hate them.
Oh my God, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh my God, I was like the
I hate
pariah
them.
because I was like, I can't stand blowjobs. Oh, I'm glad you said
I'll
that.
tell you, this is so graphic. This is awful. When I was pregnant with Billy, I had my placenta was low, so we couldn't have sex. And
The entire time you were pregnant?
from like 6 months, it was like somewhere the 3 to 6 months area. So we had to do blowjobs, and I
Did you have your fill? But
I was like, I had my fill in more than one way, and I was like, that's disgusting. I don't want to do that ever again.
right.
I fucking hate it. I can't stand it. He can go down on me all he wants, but I do not want to go there. I don't like them. I don't understand. I don't know why girls do them. I don't know why teenage girls do that to themselves. It feels very degrading too, in some ways. I guess if you're just like doing them for the sake of doing them. I don't know. I can't stand them. Sorry.
Kathy?
Sorry, Bill.
Right.
Now that he'll
I
listen.
mean, I just don't enjoy any part of it. I don't like anything about it.
You know,
So, yeah, sorry, but
if I didn't have to unhinge my jaw for 20 minutes, I'd be okay. Really seriously. My jaw starts hurting so bad.
Yeah.
yeah, it's painful.
That's the problem. If I did, I literally have to like unhinge it to get it all like, so I'm not like tearing my teeth on
Yeah.
on him. So that's my one complaint. But when I was single, before I met Bert, I bought a book, and I wish I knew the name of this book. It was written by a gay man about how to give a proper blowjob and how to give pleasure to a man.
Oh.
And it was written by a gay man for women. And I read this book, and it helped me understand blowjobs a lot better and how to make them happen faster. How to make them have an orgasm faster with a blowjob. And boy, let me tell you something, that boy knew what he was talking about, because that whole game changed after I read that book, and I can get it to happen pretty quick now, which I don't mind giving Bert a blowjob. He really enjoys them. It is definitely my least favorite thing to do, but I don't have like your aversion to it. Spit or swallow?
Oh, spit.
Oh, swallow. You people are so not gangsta.
disgusting.
Why? It's not disgusting.
It's
You spit
warm
it
and
out.
salty and
Yeah, but when I swallow it, I can taste if he's drinking too much.
Is that like your litmus test?
It is. If he's drinking too much, it's really sweet. It's really sugary, and you go, "Nyah, nyah, 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 nyah." That's gross. You gotta stop drinking.
I mean, it's not fair. I did
I'm pretty sure there are better ways to tell.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
yeah. Smell. You could smell him. And
Blood test.
Just look at the bottle that's left on the counter.
Breathalyzer. No.
Well, I'm just
give you
saying,
a blowjob so I can.
ladies, pay attention
Right.
out there. If you're giving the blowjob and it's a little sweet, your dude's drinking too much. Maybe he's eating too much Hostess cupcakes. I don't know. It's too much sugar in.
That's
liquid.
fascinating.
It definitely changes. It totally changes. It's like goes from like acid to alkaline or something. It's a completely different taste when he's been drinking for long periods of time heavily. It doesn't happen if he has a drink. It's been like when he's on a long span of drinking a lot. Then it changes. But that's not why I give him a blowjob, obviously. I just happened to notice it and went, that's interesting. But yeah, this guy...
I want to read this book.
I've got to find... I wish I had thought.
I'm curious.
This is the flaw.
This is the statistic we need.
This is the flaw. Let's see if we can get it on Google. The book is clearly several years old because I've been with Bert for 16 years and I got it before I met him. I don't know that I tried it on any guys before I met him, but I got it before I met him because I'd already read it. And let's see. A book about blowjobs written by a gay man. Let's see if Google comes up with anything. But the stuff it's still on when you should have a pap smear. A book about blowjobs written by a gay man. There we go.
After you have your first pap smear.
When should you have your first pap smear? It keeps going back to that.
It's very
All
important.
right, well, I'll try to find it and I'll put it on my wifeotp.com.
I would actually like to read that and then have this conversation again because I'm curious.
It was an interesting book because he basically was talking about, the purpose of a cock ring and how you can create a cock ring, which a cock ring kind of like, it heightens their orgasm. But if you hold their dick really tight like a cock ring while you're giving a blowjob, when you feel that they're getting really worked up and you let it go. What's it called?
Sex tips from straight women from a gay man.
That's it. Sex tips for straight women from a gay man. Thank you, Halston. That was it. So he was basically like, if you release your manual cock ring, everything would just explode. It's like almost like pulling a trigger. And it's true.
Yeah.
And he was telling in there's like techniques with your tongue that work like that. Like Bert is like putty. It's the craziest thing. So I was like, if you're going to do them, you may as well make them short.
Yeah.
Because they're not my favorite. So... But I feel like if he does that for me, I should be willing to reciprocate because he enjoys it, not because just simply because he really enjoys it. So I feel like if he's willing to do that, to give me oral sex, then I should be willing to give it to him. I think
You're
that's
so giving.
only fair. I'm a really giving person.
Yeah.
Clearly, I could never have married Bert. I'm a very giving person. Thank you, Halston, for that book title. I appreciate that. Because I keep thinking, like, while I'm driving, I need to look up the title of that book.
Right.
And then I forget. Sorry, the podcast is not highly produced, clearly. But, so you should read it. We could do a book club about that book.
I actually am curious because I love to read and learn other things because I do feel like I'm incredibly not experienced being with one man. I mean, I've been with a few, but being with him for 20 years, I walked into it not knowing a lot of things. So I am curious because I will say I hate them. That doesn't mean that I don't not do them to him, but it's just not my most favorite thing.
Right.
So I would totally read that and see how that plays out.
Well, the thing about it is, just like sex, when they know you're not into it, they know you're not into it with the blowjob.
Yes. Right.
And it makes the blowjob last longer.
Yes.
So if you can get yourself in a place where you have some techniques, you have some stuff you're going to try, and I get myself into headset where I'm like about to conquer the bear. I am putting this bear downtown.
Yeah.
Are you ready to see Mama Warrior? Because I'm taking you down fucking town. You ready? Here we go. And that's my mindset, that I am going to own you for the next 5-6 minutes.
Yes.
As opposed to slogging through slobbery 20 minutes when I'm not into it, so he's not into it, but he wants to be into it, but he's going to do it till it ends because he really wants this, but his wife is slogging through it.
But he can tell, Yeah,
it's the same thing, where if you're really into it, then they're really turned on, and then it's over quickly.
Yeah.
So
true.
I don't know. It's one of them things, I guess.
That's interesting.
I thought it was very kind of like forward thinking of me as a single girl to buy that book.
Yeah.
I was just browsing through a bookstore and I was like, hey, I think every girl maybe should read that book, because if you're going to have to do that at some point in your life, you should know how to do it not properly, but
Is
efficiently.
it solely about blowjobs, this book?
No,
or is it, because
it's
the title
about-
sounds like it's about everything.
It was about everything,
Yeah.
but less about. I don't remember as much about sex. I think I was doing okay in the sex department, but it was about how to play with balls and and the cock ring and how to stimulate what stimulates a man sexually, because just like us, it's very different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And every man throughout the time that that I've had sex before, Bert, they were all different. There was no guy that was just like some other guy. So, but this guy, I think, kind of basically went, here's the way it works, Whereas, like, when Bert and I first started having sex, he was like, I'd just like you to focus on my dick. And I go, but what about, like, kissing your neck? He's like, don't want it. What about, like, rubbing your chest? No, thanks. What about, like, I don't know, a little tease? Nope, just go straight for the dick. And I'm like, that's boring. That's boring for me.
Right.
I mean, I love men's shoulders and I love their arms.
Yeah.
I love their shoulders and arms and chest, and I love it. And he was like, it's not doing anything for me. So then you have to go, okay, well, sometimes I'll take it for me, but sometimes I just need to grab his dick. I just need to go, boop. And that's
then
it.
it's on.
And then
it's done.
yeah.
Or a hug.
Or a hug.
Same thing.
Same thing. I can think of is like a 15. I mean, that's all that goes on in my house. My 15-year-old hugs his girlfriend, and there's a boner. So I'm just thinking about this 15-year-old boy running around. That's what happens.
Yeah.
It's such a
Bert had an Arrested Development.
yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Arrested Development, it was about 15. Anything else we should talk about sex?
funny.
Anything else we should talk about?
Now, would you give the girls a book like that when they were old enough?
When they were old enough. I think
how
I
old would that be?
It would be over 21. I don't think they need to know how to give a blowjob, because they should not be giving blowjobs at 15.
No, they shouldn't. Right.
No. I mean, here's the hard part, right? I had sex at 15. I don't think my kids are going to have sex at 15. And I don't think I'm being naive about it, or at least Georgia. I think Iva's too young. She's 11. I have no idea who she's going to be. But I don't think Georgia's on the path for like 15-year-old sex. Mm-hmm. Maybe 16, 17 maybe. But it's such a hard conversation to have, I think. It makes them so uncomfortable. And they know what the birds and the bees are. We've had those kind of general conversations. But the conversation like, sex is okay, but I'm not giving you permission.
Right.
But sex is natural. And most people have sex before they go to college. And it's scary the first time, maybe even the first few times you do it. And here are all these ways you'll feel rejected. And here are all these ways that will feel heightened because you've now had sex. That's the hard conversation, I think, because sex opens the door to this clusterfuck of everything else that they're maybe not mature enough to handle. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
What are you guys going to do?
It's hard to put an age on it, I think.
I think it is a maturity.
It's a maturity. It's developmental.
And what's
based
going on in their
kid.
life.
Yeah.
Like Georgia has one friend where I'm like, they're going to have that talk soon. Soon. But I don't know that Georgia needs that talk soon. She's not there. She wants to go to an all-girls Catholic school. She does not care a thing about boys in this moment.
Right.
So maybe by this time next year she will.
Right.
But in this moment, that would be an inappropriate conversation. I think it would do damage in some ways. It would make her be like, oh my God. And we're watching movies now, like 16 Candles.
Yeah.
Where, there's a bad part where Jake Ryan says he could take advantage of his girlfriend who's drunk, passed out upstairs any way he wants to. And we explain why that's wrong and why that's bad. And we're watching The Runaways, which is a series on Hulu. And there's a moment where two boys take a girl upstairs and they're taking her clothes off and they get caught, and one of her friends walks in on them and beats the boys up, and Georgia was like, what were they doing? So that was a moment to have a conversation about not drinking too much and what happens sometimes when you're in these compromised situations. And so we're definitely having stuff like that, but it's not at her, it's about something we're observing in a movie. It's kind of a safe way of, and we're not even doing it on purpose. We had no idea that scene was going to happen in The Runaways. We were just watching it as a family, and we were like, pause. Let's have a conversation.
Hold on.
Time to have a conversation. This is what's the 8 things that are wrong with this scenario, you know? So So I don't know. Your girls are younger. I mean, you
Yeah.
got 11-year-old or 12-year-old girls. So you got a little more time.
Well, it's interesting though watching with Billy because
Billy is how old?
he's 15. He'll be 16 in August, and I mean, it seemed like he didn't even look at girls until October.
Right.
And or maybe September when they were going to dances and they were having to meet the girls because he's at an all boys Catholic school. And so I mean through junior high, some of his friends are totally into girls, and I'd be asking him, is there anybody cute? No. Like, you don't, there are no girls that you like? No. Are there boys that you like? No. You know, like, okay, but what's happening? Because everybody around you, it's happening. And so I'm just curious. And then all of a sudden it was literally like the snap of the fingers, and he has a girlfriend.
Right.
And so it's interesting watching him because he's 15 and his girlfriend's 14. She's a whole year younger. And so I do think about it in terms of what would I want my daughters to know?
Right.
Because I have to look at her like she's my daughter. What
Right,
would I
yeah.
expect? And then what would I tell him? And so it is a very interesting space to be in, because I do wonder that if they're equipped at a younger age, knowing their bodies, knowing the right ways, knowing to say no, like to trust when it doesn't feel good, if we would have less of a Me Too movement.
Right.
You know, like
Yeah.
what are the benefits of actually sharing these things? Not like this, you know, sex tips for, book with a 16-year-old, but just if we actually did talk about it more in owning your space and being okay with this is okay, this is not okay. And it's okay if you like it.
Right.
Would we have less
I wonder.
sexual trauma, you know, and less of this? Because all the stories that I hear just makes me so devastating, knowing my own sexual trauma, thinking that my girls could possibly experience that
Yeah,
and
that
will
is hard.
experience that. And teaching my boys that this is unacceptable. How can I give them the tools so that they don't experience that, so that they aren't another part of a statistic?
Yeah, it's a scary prospect, isn't it?
You know, like how do we talk to them then to make them feel stronger? Because I think a lot of this shit happens because nobody talks about sex. Nobody tells you it's wrong. You're not strong enough to say no, or to say yes.
Right.
Because you like it. And that's okay to not be, because on the flip side is you have a very sexual being who's then shamed for being a sexual being.
Right.
So you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Well, everybody's wired differently.
Right.
To allow for some differences. But
That's why I wonder.
yeah, I wonder too. No one really talked to me. Like I said, I got the pill talk after I'd already been having sex.
Right.
And all I'd experienced of sex was, my dad didn't marry his girlfriend. My parents divorced when I was 7. My dad got a girlfriend when I was about 8, and she was with him until I was 20. So, but they didn't get married until I was, I don't know, maybe a senior in high school. So, but she never stayed. She didn't really stay over much. There was no I didn't connect them sexually. As I connected them as in love, but not like a sexual way. I didn't see them. I saw them as parents. I don't think they look at us and go, "Mom and Dad are kicking it tonight." They don't. And that's good.
Right.
They shouldn't look at us as overly sexual
Right,
beings.
right.
People who have sex maybe, but not like, wow, they really knock boots. But my mom was so hypersexual, and I knew so much about sex from her stuff. I think I was really, really lucky in that my first boyfriend was one of the sweetest young men ever. He was so kind and sweet. And it was both of our first time when we had sex for the first time. And it could not have been a more beautiful experience. It was very kind and very loving and very respectful, and nobody knew what they were doing. And our relationship continued on for a while after that. It was in a relationship, which is, I think, what I may use as an example when I'm talking to my kids.
Right.
Because that's
Because that's not the norm.
It's not the norm. That's my
Right.
point.
Yeah.
Now, my trauma happened in college. So I had years of healthy sex with him, and then with my second boyfriend before I went to college. All of that sex was really appropriate. It was age appropriate, and it was respectful, and it was great. So I'm thinking with my kids, I think sometimes it's gross to hear your mom and dad's experience, but sometimes if they hear a mom or dad's experience, they understand it in a different way. Does that make sense? You know, so my experience could not have been better. Bert's first experience was horrific, so we'll leave his out of it.
Right.
But we don't have boys,
Right.
so his was he was in the wrong spot, and stuff went everywhere, and people made fun of him, and it was bad.
Oh,
It was really bad. You know, the
But
worst.
there's something to learn about that, though, for them also.
I
Boys
guess
or
so.
girls. Because there's a level of respect for the opposite sex that
Right.
we leave out. And if you don't share both sides of the story, then it just, I think, continues on the path of a fantasized idea about what it's supposed to look like
Right.
versus what actually does happen.
Right. This is what actually does happen. Hurts a little bit.
Right.
And is a little scary, and everybody's all thumbs, and nobody knows what's going on. Even if the other one's done it before, they probably still don't know what's going on.
Right.
There's no pleasure necessarily involved for women, because like pleasure, like orgasm,
yeah,
because
right.
I think I was developmentally immature. I was 15. So I don't even think my stuff was going on yet. But yeah, there's a lot to be explained, I guess. You know, we've kind of taken that approach with drugs a little bit. We've talked a lot about drugs and alcohol as to how it relates to human growth and development.
Yeah.
Right? So maybe that's an approach too, is to talk about sex as it relates to human growth and development, that it's perfectly natural. It's totally normal. Here's the confines of what makes it safe, you know, or safe emotionally even. I don't know. Have you thought much about this? What about Max?
we have thought about it. So they have to take, you know, a human development class in 8th grade. And of course he got put in it first semester, which is unfortunate. Like, he's so not ready. He's so immature.
He's very
He
young,
was
yeah.
terrified, and he would come home and be like, they talked about sex, you know?
Oh,
Max, he's so not ready for it. I
Little
really
guy.
wish he would have been put in second semester. I mean, not like now he's any more ready for it, so it wouldn't have mattered. He really needs it in like 10th grade. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff. Like, he'll just drop these little comments, like, that generally spawn a conversation. Like, he said something about like porn the other day, and I was like, oh boy.
Oh,
like,
boy.
you know, and he's like, I don't know anyone who watches it. But like in 3rd grade, it came up on the iPad, and he's like, I clicked it. It is so bad, Mom. And like, but he remembers from 3rd
Right,
grade, one of
right.
these pop-up ads or whatever, you know? So then we have this whole conversation about what porn is, and, you know, like, but it's hard because you can tell he's not ready for it. And so there's only like little bits and pieces that you can put out there that he
Right.
can sort of take in, and then you have to come back later on and continue to have the conversation. I feel like it just happens. There's not like one conversation.
Right.
It's like little bits and pieces, and sort of how much he can handle and when he can handle it.
Right.
So
That's a good point. Probably should happen in many small conversations. Maybe one big one
yeah.
down the line. Go get the pill. Here's Jeff's number. Have a pap smear with my best friend. Have a nice day.
There's an amazing author. Her name's Esther Perel, and she wrote Mating in Captivity and then The State of Affairs. And I happened to be at a retreat with her and asked her, like, when do we talk about sex? And she said, well, how old are your kids? And I told her, so this is 2 years ago. So, you know, Billy's 13 and so on and so forth down the line. She's like, it's too late. I'm like,
It's
what are you
too
talking
late.
about? It's too late. Like, what? She said, you should be talking about sex as passion. There's passion everywhere that you look. It's intimacy. It's love. It's in everything that you're surrounded by. And when she kind of brought that up, she's like, sex is one tiny little act, but you could be having like the intimacy of sex in everything, or the passion of sex in everything that you're doing. When you're singing, you feel passionate about it. That's like, euphoria and orgasmic. And so it like taking away the word sex, she was like, you should talk about it all the time. It's in every piece of your life, because sex is more than just the act of sex involved, like intimacy.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that. My mom talked about it all the time.
Right. Well,
And
not
it
the
made
act
me
of sex,
massively uncomfortable.
but from an early age, like it
Passion.
shouldn't be not talked about.
But no, well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you need to start super early.
Right.
But
Well, clearly I didn't.
I mean, my kids. No, you were too late.
I was too
You were
late.
too late. I mean, my kids know mom and dad have sex, and it's so gross. It's gross out time, and we're like, it's not gross.
Right.
It's not. This is what we're supposed to be doing. You should be worried if we weren't.
My kids think that when we're kissing.
Oh,
I'm
shit,
like,
was that
really?
supposed to wake him up at 12? Okay. Hi.
I just need a cup of coffee.
Oh, okay. Do you want to?
Good morning.
Hey guys.
How
How
are
are
you
your
feeling?
toes? Your feet?
My legs are.
Hey, get on a mic. Get on a mic, okay? That's what he does to me when I come in the middle of the podcast and start talking and I'm not on a mic. He goes, "Okay, get on a mic." Do you want my mic? Here.
Oh God.
Oh God. I can't even
My
imagine.
legs are in so much fucking pain. I mean, I honestly, I've never experienced this much pain in my legs ever in my entire life. And now I'm gonna go do a shoot in fucking Santa Monica. And I was like, and my wife's such a goddamn stickler. She's like, that is so disrespectful. Those people are all set up to shoot with you. You go. And I was like, yeah, but it's extraneous circumstances. She's like, no. So I am like in so much fucking pain. It's ridiculous. I got on the toilet and I couldn't get off.
Oh.
So I'm glad did you guys have a good podcast?
Yeah. I think we're wrapping it up here
Okay.
in a few.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll see you guys in a little bit.
All right, babe.
I'm
Goodbye.
gonna still be getting dressed by the time you.
Maybe.
You might still be walking to the
Wow,
house.
I've never seen him walk like that ever.
That's terrible.
Oh my God.
Stupid. He shouldn't have run a marathon with no
he
training.
thinking?
He
He
was
didn't
crazy.
train.
He did a great job, but I would imagine he's in a lot of pain. And he booked this job last Friday, and he said,
Oh, so he knew about the marathon?
yes. And he said, I don't know if I should do this because I have the marathon. And the manager was like, okay, well, it's like X amount of dollars for 1 hour work. And he was like, okay, I can make that happen. And then last night he was like, I'm canceling. And I went, no, you can't do
Right,
that
you can't
now.
now.
You
Right,
should
now
have,
it's
you
too
should
late.
have not
Yeah.
accepted it Friday knowing you were going to feel like this today because you knew and you tried to say no. So this is on you. Now you got to do it. That's what he was talking about, my stickler wife.
Right.
I don't think I'm a stickler. I think there's
it's
propriety.
what's
There's
right.
propriety. You
Right.
don't do that. You don't
Right.
do that. Like if he were coming to a podcast with one other person, okay, you're probably not inconveniencing anybody. It's not costing anybody any
Right.
money. But they have a production. They have a crew. You know, and if he cancels it, they still have to pay that crew.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you didn't want to say no Friday? Because you don't like to say no? Unless we're having sex?
Then it's yes.
Yes. Well, I guess it's
Yes.
the same as he doesn't like to say no.
Yes.
Anyway, I think we talked about some good stuff.
I think so
Right?
too.
Anything we should continue on a different podcast?
Oh, I don't know. I'm sure. I don't know. I'm going to go to therapy now to talk about sex. So
Awesome.
I'm sure maybe I'll think of more things.
Go home and have some sex later, and then it'll be complete.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I thought it was a good combo. What do you think?
I think so.
I thought it was great.
Thank you, ladies.
You can never end
Thank you.
talking about sex. It's always
That's
good.
true. There's always a lot to talk about. It would be hard to just kind of wrap it up. So we'll just kind of wrap it up.
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
you.
All right. I'll see you next time.
Okay.